This average family man worked as a custodian as well as a boxing journalist. However, after multiple tragedies in his family, he would soon turn to substances and be sentenced to death just a few years later. In between this time, his life consisted only of illegal dealings and cold-hearted murder. Welcome back to Twisted Minds. My name's James, and this is the case of Hale Dausner, as well as his accomplice, Samuel Dieteman. These two were so vicious and heartless that Dale was sentenced to death 6 different times, with his accomplice, Samuel, being sentenced to life in prison. These two callous monsters thankfully no longer walk the streets, but the impact of their crimes continue to resonate through Arizona to this day. For the purpose of today's video, we will be mostly focusing on the life and crimes of Dale Hausner. Police have decided to keep most of the information about Dale's accomplice Samuel private. Dale Hausner is believed to originally have been from Omaha, Nebraska. He was born in 1973, and at the age of 16 he had moved to Arizona, the future location of his crime spree. Public record shows that by 1991, Dale had lived at many different addresses, traveling everywhere from Phoenix to Mesa. It seems as though he couldn't manage to stay in one place for a very long time, and Dale never managed to settle down and find a place to call home. By the following year, Dale had married a young lady named Tracy Spiker. The two seemed to have dated for a short while before getting married, and it seemed like these two fully intended on spending the rest of their lives together. They had one child together, a boy named Jeremiah, just 3 months after the two got married. However, by April of 1994, the marriage had completely fallen apart and the two were officially divorced. The very next day, Dale remarried a woman named Karen Ann Shaw. I think it's safe to say that Dale and Karen had been dating while Dale was still married to Tracy. If not, it would be super strange to marry a new woman the day your divorce is finalized. Regardless, Dale and Karen decided to move a few states away and found a home in Pasadena, Texas in 1994. It would be a few months later after this move that tragedy would strike for Dale and Karen, as well as Dale's former wife, Tracy. Karen was driving the couple's car late in the evening one day in November of 1994. Dale was riding in the passenger seat, with Jeremiah riding in the back. Tracy's 3-year-old son was with the couple as well, whose name was Donovan. At some point while the family was in the car, Karen lost control of the vehicle and struck a guardrail, launching the car into a nearby creek along Interstate 45 in Corsicana. After the impact, Dale and Karen struggled to get out of the water and swim to safety. However, the two children, Jeremiah and Donovan, remained trapped inside the vehicle. They both lost their lives in the water, with police locating their bodies a short distance down the river a while later. Dale and Karen were only slightly injured from the incident. By October of 2001, both Karen and Dale agreed to get a divorce. Rumors seem to claim that after the car wreck in 1994, the relationship between Dale and Karen was never the same, as you can imagine. Some people say that after the crash and the death of his firstborn, Dale fell into a deep depression that he could never seem to get out of. It seems as though he felt guilt for losing his child on that fateful evening, but it's possible he could have cast some of the blame on Karen as well, as she had been the one driving the car that evening. A report from this time indicates that Dale may have threatened his wife with a shotgun at some point, leading her to naturally feel unsafe and flee the relationship. This is all according to court records that were revealed during the divorce, and this depicts that Dale was clearly mentally unstable, losing his once clear mind and where to draw the line ethically. Almost immediately after filing for divorce, they married one another yet again. This time, however, the marriage would last a much shorter amount of time. Karen reported that after their second marriage, Dale immediately became physically abusive toward her. She filed to have the marriage annulled, and this request was granted. However, he would continue to harass Karen at all hours of the day, even making unwanted phone calls to her at her place of work. After the divorce, it seems like Dale's life slowly began to fall apart. When he wasn't making harassing phone calls to Karen, he was repeatedly moving locations and never managed to find a permanent residence. Dale's string of bad luck didn't end there though. Dale was also diagnosed with cancer just a few years after losing touch with Karen in 2004. In spite of this, Dale continued to live life to the fullest and found love once again. This time he met a woman named Linda Swanee that he was crazy about. The two got together and had a child, deciding to name the little girl Rebecca. Though this relationship didn't last long before it went sour as well. Around this time, Linda reported that Dale was struggling with substance abuse, with his drug of choice being methamphetamine. Obviously, this drug quickly took complete control over his life, pushing Dale to his deepest and darkest desires. By 2005, Dale was forced to move out of the home he shared with Linda. He began living at an apartment complex in Mesa, with Linda filing for protection order against him, as well as full custody of the child they shared. All of this would lead up to the crimes that would have Dale Hausner labeled as one of the most violent and heartless criminals in Arizona state history. Beginning in May of 2005, Dale Hausner began committing a series of crimes that would eventually land him in prison for life. During this time, he is known to have claimed the lives of several people, often by claiming their life with a firearm. By December of 2005, Dale had already claimed the lives of 4 men. To somewhat paint a picture of their murders, here's a quote by Dale's accomplice, Samuel Dieteman.
Well, this little shotgun, fired at some fat guy who was walking down the road.
What does Dale do after he fires?
He kind of chuckles a little bit and puts the gun down beside his leg.
Dale's first victim, David Estrada, was killed in June of 2005. Nathaniel Schaffner was then killed in November of 2005 while protecting his dog from being shot. Just short of 2 months later, Jose Ortiz and Marco Correlio both lost their lives on December 29, 2005. It's believed that Dale committed these first few murders himself, as he and his accomplice Samuel Dieteman claimed to have met in early 2006. Dale and his brother Jeff were known to have been very close with one another. They would often meet up and drink with one another, but some people have reason to believe that they may have taken part in more nefarious substances as well. It was Jeff who introduced Dale to Samuel Dieteman in early 2006. The two met at a bar and instantly hit it off, becoming close friends over the course of just a few days. By this time, Dale had already committed several heinous crimes, but Samuel was interested in joining in. The two seemed to have a lot in common. Much like Dale, Samuel also came from a somewhat broken home. He was the father of 2 young girls, but his home life was anything but stable when it came to his relationship with his children. In 2001, his wife left him. This marked a turning point for Samuel, as his life quickly fell apart. Samuel allowed his depression to get the better of him, and he began to drink heavily and partake in more dangerous hobbies as well, such as purchasing illegal substances. In the end, Samuel lost his apartment and was forced into homelessness. Around this time, Samuel's mother offered for him to move in with her and her husband. Samuel seemingly lost his will to live after losing his wife, and he had no motivation to do anything aside from drink. He spent all of his money and free time drinking, and his life was left in shambles. It was around this time that Dale came into the picture. The two were both hard up for cash and decided to start taking part in a side hustle that could have landed them decades in jail. Dale allowed Samuel to move into his apartment with him after they decided on a small business idea. However, this was not a legitimate business by any means. The two concocted a plan in which Samuel would steal alcohol and CDs from a nearby store. Then Dale would sell these items to his co-workers and customers. For the most part, their plan seems to have worked out and they were never caught by the police. When the two weren't busy stealing and selling items, they found a hobby of setting fire to large piles of trash as well as palm trees. When this wasn't enough, they would begin to attack tourists and locals who happened to be passing by. At the time, they had no motive for doing this. In their eyes, it was just good fun. However, many of their victims would be left seriously injured. All of their crimes were committed while the two were both high on methamphetamine. By May of 2006, the two had begun to work together, carrying out a series of violent crimes with one another. On May 2nd, they claimed the lives of Claudia Gutierrez Cruz near Scottsdale. The following month, on the 8th of June, they decided to kick things up a notch and set fire to 2 Walmart stores. Police say these fires resulted in damages between $7 million and $10 million. The two would continue to work together and claim the lives of random people until the end of July. By this point, Dale and Samuel had grown very confident in their ability to avoid police. After all, Dale had already been doing this for more than a year, and Samuel was more than happy to tag along. However, Dale made the mistake of bragging about his crimes to a friend he had been drinking with. It seems that his friend didn't share the same enthusiasm. Soon enough, the friend reported Dale and Samuel to the police, and officers were hot on their trail. Police set up an operation in which they would follow Dale and Samuel everywhere they went. They even went as far as tapping their phones so that they could listen to their phone calls and document any planned attacks. By August 3rd, less than 1 month later, the two were arrested and sent to court for their crimes. According to court reports, the two didn't pick out their victims for any particular reason. Instead, they claimed lives at random simply because they enjoyed hurting other people. Their crimes were often targeted at pedestrians who were passing by, as well as animals they passed along their journey. Police would also learn that on several occasions, Dale's brother Jeff would join in on their crimes as well. While being questioned by police, Dale and Samuel revealed their plan for crimes. They would hop in their car late at night, cruising the streets for people who were walking alone in Phoenix. When they found someone in a particularly isolated area, they would claim their life with either a rifle or a shotgun, often without even exiting their vehicle. Though, on one occasion, Dale distracted one of the victims while Samuel snuck up from behind and attacked the man with a knife. Nearly all of their crimes were committed in Phoenix. However, some were committed in neighboring areas or cities. At the end of it all, Dale Hausner and Samuel Dieteman were taken to court for killing 8 people and injuring 19 others. However, investigators believe that the two may be responsible for as many as 28 deaths. Dale Hausner was accused of a total of 87 crimes, with most of these crimes being felonies. Samuel Dieteman was accused of 2 deaths as well as conspiracy. When Dale spoke with his attorney, he seemed as though he may have begun to show some sort of remorse for his actions. He told his lawyer that he did not want to oppose the death penalty, as death may help the victims' families heal. In court, he actually pleaded with the judge to hand him the death penalty, asking that it be given to him as soon as possible. During his statement to the jury before his conviction, he spoke for 30 minutes and offered apologies to the families of the victims, comparing himself to Charles Manson. When the jury reached a verdict, Dale was handed 6 death sentences, securing his fate. Samuel Dieteman would later be given life in prison, as the jury didn't believe that he had the same involvement in the crimes as Dale did. Dale's own brother was even convicted for helping out with the crimes, landing himself in prison for 25 years. The case of Dale Hausner would finally come to a close in June of 2013 when he was found unresponsive in his cell in prison. There was no physical trauma to his body. However, a coroner soon learned that he had taken his own life after overdosing on antidepressants. Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Minds. That was the case of Dale Hausner, and why don't you go ahead and click on one of the 2 videos on your screen for another one of our videos.